You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we have a special guest and we'll get back to her in just a moment, but first a message from our partner and friends at CallRail. How many high-value cases did you lose in the past year because your firm couldn't respond fast enough? 81% of law firms say slow response times cost them business, sometimes nearly a quarter of their annual revenue. That's why you need CallRail in 2026. Integrated into your case management system, CallRail helps you capture every call, even after hours, spot high-value leads instantly, respond faster, and gain the insights you need to bring in bigger cases. Join over 3,000 law firms using CallRail to follow up faster, land bigger cases, and drive real growth. Start your free trial today. You can send us a message or check out the link below. And now, back to our guest. Our guest today is Dayle Lopez, founder of DLopez Law Firm in Miami, focusing on personal injury law. And a shout out to you for coming to the Miami Connect event with Lawyer Stories. Such a good time. Met you there. Dayle, good to have you in.
Hi, Benny. It's amazing to be in. And I had an amazing time at the event. It's my second time attending one of the Lawyer Stories event. And it was a great turnout. I was able to see a lot of old friends and new faces. And it's funny, we were talking about it before we jumped in. I've actually been using CallRail for years now. And they're amazing. We don't miss a call. We're very happy with their service.
Oh, that's so great. CallRail's good people. I definitely highly recommend them to everybody out there. Don't miss those calls, important calls, nights, weekends, holidays. They're going to help you out. Thank you, Dayle. So let me give you a more proper introduction. Dayle immigrated from Cuba at just 15 years old and began working early to support her family. Experiences that shaped her resilience, discipline, and purpose. She went on to earn her law degree, study international law abroad, and continue advancing her skills through programs like Harvard Program on Negotiation. Today, she leads a boutique personal injury law firm deeply rooted in the Hispanic and immigrant community, providing compassionate, bilingual representation to clients who often feel unheard and fighting to ensure they receive the justice and compensations they deserve. Welcome to Lawyer Stories.
It's a pleasure to be here, Benny.
Yeah. So kind of a long intro for me with everything, but I'm glad you're here, and we're excited to hear your story. It sounds like a good one. So tell us. Let's start at the beginning. This is Lawyer Stories. I like to hear where people kind of come from and how they entered the noble profession, the practice of law. So, what do you remember most about leaving Cuba and arriving in Miami at age 15?
It's funny the things that a child will remember. When I first came to the United States, one of the things that impacted me the most was I used to take the school bus. I went to Coral Gables Senior High down here in Miami. It's a local public school. It's an amazing school. And I remember the bus would pick me up and I would go all the way to the school. And I remember the lights and the big buildings. And I felt so special to be able to witness the greatness of having all of those opportunities and being in a place like Miami where I felt like the opportunities were endless.
Right.
It was all out there, all the lights, the buildings, the people going to work in the morning. It really sent me in a path of I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be a part of the conversation. I wanted to be a part of the community and hopefully impacted in a way that was positive and long-lasting.
And you were in Miami at that point, right? You came from Cuba, you were in Miami. What do you remember, being in Cuba until 15? Was that, hard to leave? Did you have friends and, were you in school, that sort of thing?
Yes, it was incredibly hard, especially for those immigrants that are listening to us. When you leave your country, you're going looking for a better life to a new place, but you're leaving everything that you know behind. You're leaving family, you're leaving friends, you're leaving everything that has supported you up until then. And I went through a lot of struggles growing up in Cuba. It was definitely filled with challenges, but it was what was familiar to me. And coming to the United States was incredibly scary. It took a long time for me to acclimate, and it took a long time for me to really understand the culture. When I first came, I did not speak the language at all,
Yeah.
and I was already halfway through
Wow.
high school. So I had a
You didn't,
really
hold on, let's say that again. You didn't speak the language when you came over at 15?
I did not speak the language, and I was already halfway through high school, so I had a very limited time before I had to get to college to really catch up with everyone else that had
How do
known
you
each
do
other.
that? How do you learn it so quick?
Youth, I guess. It
Yeah.
was when you're young, when you're a child, you're like a sponge. You just absorb what's around you, and I knew that I didn't have any other choice. I remember I would go to class, and I made friends quickly, and I will have some of my friends read for me and translate in the book whatever the book said in Spanish, and then I would translate it under the English words, and that's how I would at the beginning really understand what the books even said. Some of the teachers didn't speak Spanish, so at the beginning it was a big challenge to really catch up, but I knew that I had a lot of work to do, and I was very motivated to do it. And luckily, I was able to learn it fairly quick.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And what was like the circumstances surrounding your move? Like, did you move with a parent? Did you move with to a grandparent's house for a better life? Like, what was the circumstances really surrounding that?
Well, my father was had immigrated a few years prior, so
Okay.
I came with my mom. But
Okay.
interestingly enough, when I first the way that I came into the country, we crossed the border walking, the border with Mexico. So it was incredibly scary
Really?
to go through that experience
Okay.
of walking through the US border into a country where we didn't speak the language, we didn't understand the culture, and we didn't really know what was waiting for us on the other side.
Really? That's unbelievable. So you just kind of crossed?
Yes. Yeah, we
Wow.
crossed on foot
To Mexico.
from Mexico to the US, which is
Fr-
the story that a lot of my clients have today. It's funny how life comes full circle sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that I represent nowadays, they are immigrants. They know what it is to go through that experience of leaving your country, sometimes risking your life
Hmm.
and doing things that may seem extreme in order to search for a better future.
So
But
what was your grandfather doing here?
my grandfather, my grandfather had passed away at the time. My
Okay.
father was
I'm
here.
sorry, your father was the one here. I'm sorry.
Yes, yes. My
Okay.
father was here. My father was actually a barber. My
Nice.
father was, I come from a very blue collar background in this country.
Okay.
In Cuba, my parents were both professors. They were both school professors, but when we came, they worked blue collar jobs in order to help
What
support
do you
us.
think like for them was like, hey, we got to move. Like we got to get data out of here and like move and be in a better place. Or not a better place, but a different place, different
What I think
circumstances.
about that has actually significantly changed through the years
Okay.
because when at the time I don't know that I thought about it too much. It was just what we were doing, and we were going with the motions, and we were looking for a better future and looking for more opportunities. But now I look back, and being a mother myself, I realize how scary it must have been for them. And but I come from an amazing family, and they really did a good job protecting me from what was going on. And in the mind of a child,
Yeah.
I wasn't really understanding all of the risk and what and the sacrifices that they were truly doing. Now, looking back as a parent myself, I I have a completely different take, and I think that they were incredibly courageous because they saw that staying in a place like Cuba, I was going to be limited for the rest of my life
Yeah.
in what I was going to be able to do, and coming to this country really opened up all of the opportunities for the rest of my life, and everything that I have today. I have to look back and I have to thank them for having made that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good when people take the time to look back at like where they came from and how far they've come, and try to keep that little humble sense in themselves. And they must be like super proud, by the way. And you started working early to help your family. Like, how did that shape your mindset?
I have always been very proactive in the things that I want to do. And as you can imagine, coming to this country and my parents having to work blue collar jobs and do anything that they needed to do in order to get us through, I immediately realized that I had to start making a contribution as soon as I could. And I was going to high school, and I actually also took advantage of that to learn English and to practice it and to be out of the house. And I always say the opportunities are out. They're out of the house. Go out and meet people. I remember I worked when I was in high school at a place called Jamba Juice.
Nice.
It used to be
Yeah.
very popular back in the day. It was like a cool teenager work to do, and we were in Miracle Mile and Coral Gables, which is a very business oriented area. And there I met some of the first lawyers that I have met in my entire life. They
Really?
would come and they would grab a juice, and I would just talk to them and get to know them, and just start little by little building a little network of professionals and people that were where I wanted to go in life.
So yeah, well, that's interesting. Like, what was your first impression of the lawyers when you were talking to them? Were you like, wow, like I kind of want to be like this person. This is like how what I strive to be, like a professional coming in, just buying a juice with their Amex or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that like?
It was, I remember, it's funny how when you are that age, the things that call your attention. I remember people wearing suits to go to work, and just
Yep.
how nice they looked, and just going to grab a smoothie to go to the office, and I remember looking at them and saying, oh, these people are making all the difference. These people
Yeah.
are the ones that are, because again, going back to looking at the buildings and thinking what's going on inside those buildings. These people are the people that are running this city.
Right, right.
This is
Like,
where
what are they
things
doing? What the hell are they doing? Yeah.
this is where things are happening. So getting a job in a place like that, even if it was a little, part-time job to help support myself and the family, and it was a way for me to be around that environment in some
Yeah.
way.
That's unbelievable. So, how do you think those experiences like shaped how you are today as a lawyer? I mean, because you're that person now working in a building where other people look up to, right?
It shaped everything. It's the root, the foundation of who I am in everything I do today. And I continue to try to conduct myself with the humility of the person that came from Cuba. And I feel like that helps me connect in a very special way with the people that I represent, because
Yeah.
I come from their struggle. I understand what they're going through in a way that most people don't.
Yeah. No, I get it. How about law school? I mean, you got through undergrad, and it's just kind of like that's a huge feat in and of itself. And then you're like, hell, I'm going to law school. Like, I mean, did you have like imposter syndrome? Were you like, maybe this is going to be too difficult because of my language barrier? I mean, this is like a really technical, like in English heavy sort of dialect thing. Like, what steered you that way? Like, what was the decision?
When I went to undergrad, I actually studied international business.
Okay.
My degree obviously had reading and writing, but it was not it was not like somebody that studied literature that was able to you really get deeper into the vocabulary that maybe you're going to see later on in law school. When I started law school and I started reading those cases, that are from the
Yeah.
1800s, and they talk about Black Acre, and
Yeah.
then the language that they use. It was like I didn't speak English. It was like reading Chinese.
That's how we all are, though. Like it's like all of us. Well, I mean, maybe not all of us, but I get that. So yeah,
But I feel like I was even farther behind. But the interesting thing about that, and again, going back to those initial years in this country really shaping me for the future, I would, again, back when I was in high school, I would get the dictionary and then I would be reading the case and I would write down the words that I didn't
oh
understand,
my
the
gosh,
definition in
that's
the
so
bottom.
much work.
It probably took me twice as long
I
to
doubt it.
read
Well,
every case at the beginning. But here's the detail. Because you're taking twice as long with the case, you are spending more time understanding it.
how
So
long? So say 10 pages. How long do you think it took you to get through like 10 pages of a law book? Because I could tell you for me.
probably at the beginning, an hour
Yeah,
easily.
actually,
At the very
I
beginning,
think I average like an hour every 10 pages,
yeah.
and I'm not even from like Cuba. You know what I mean? Like, I tell myself, and I know this show is about you today, but I tell myself when I was in law school, I just kind of remember this. Like, I took a year off between undergrad and law school, and like, I was like, man, I had to like teach myself how to read again. You know what I mean? Like, that's how crazy it was to like get those books and just be like, oh, you're looking at those like, oh boy. So
Yes.
anyway, go ahead.
I At the beginning it was incredibly hard. I could not understand half of what I was reading, and it took me a long time to get through it. As time went by, I feel like I started understanding more. One of my best friends today, she was in law school with me, and she's an attorney in Seattle. And she told we always laugh in our friend group because she would tell me, Dayle, it's not, you know how in law school they make you stand up and then they start asking you question with the Socratic method, and they you have to talk about the case and all of those things. And she would laugh because she said, you will stand up with such conviction, and then you would answer the question, and then sometimes it was wrong, but you would still say it
Yeah.
with all the conviction
But
of
they
the
want
world.
that. But that's. I had a tort professor tell, or maybe it was evidence. I forgot what we had him for both those classes and products liability. He said even if you don't know what the answer is or what you're talking about, like talk like you do. You know.
Yeah.
So that's something like that. So that's interesting.
Looking back now, I should have known in that moment that I had that capacity, and that was probably going to be a litigation attorney.
Yes. Yes. When did you know it was your calling though to like go to law school, make the investment, like just go there, dedicate yourself to, all this studying, all this reading, all the like when did you know? What was the moment? Did you have like a sort of like an epiphany? Did you have something that happened?
I knew that I wanted to work in an industry where I was able to help people and where I was able to make an impact. And when I went to law school, I didn't actually know, I had never been in the legal world. I mean, the more that I knew about a lawyer was the people that I gave a smoothie in Jamba Juice years prior when
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
in high school. I didn't know a single lawyer. I didn't actually had even a lawyer that could write me a recommendation letter for my application.
Right.
I had been working in the business world, and I had been working for a international software company, and I was doing very well.
Right.
But
So
I
why
felt
leave? Why go to law school? What was like, hey, like I want to study law, I'm gonna, make my family proud. I'm gonna represent people.
because the career of law really gives you an opportunity to impact somebody's life in a very unique way. I find this degree extremely powerful. Even if your passion is not to be a litigation lawyer, there's so many things that you can do with the knowledge and the skills that you obtain from being a lawyer
Do you
that
really go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
I knew that the things that I wanted to do, that my passion for helping others, it was going to be a degree that I was going to be able to use in that direction. I At the time I wasn't sure I wanted to be a litigation lawyer. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, but I knew sort of what my path was, and everything just started lining up.
Wow. And you really believe that like having the degree, like you don't just have to be a litigation lawyer. It could help you in a lot of other things.
No, when I first started practicing, I was doing immigration law, and we were doing
Right.
human rights litigation, and we were representing clients in asylum court, and I was doing still advocacy, but it was in a completely different field.
So like being, that's one of the questions I would ask. Like coming over from Cuba, how come you wouldn't want to be an immigration lawyer, maybe even a criminal defense lawyer? What sort of steered you to PI?
Initially I went in immigration law,
Right, right.
and I was practicing immigration law for a while, and I loved it, and I was very passionate about it, and then I went through a experience in my own family where somebody passed away in an accident, somebody very dear to me,
All
and I
right.
was able to see what the family side of somebody that is a victim in a situation like that, a family that goes through a tragedy,
Okay.
what they really go through. And that's when I started thinking about personal injury as a career path. I was on the family side of a family that went through a tragedy like this, and it gave me that experience of wow, when you are taking over on a case with a family that just went through a tragedy, you really have an opportunity
Yeah,
to take something that is awful and and help them and help them in some way to get through that
totally.
awful experience.
So, Dayle, you've continued to invest in your education, including Harvard's negotiation program. Why has that been important to you? I mean, you made this huge effort to go to Harvard's, you're a Harvard lady now. I mean, you went to Harvard's program, you came out to Boston, you're in Florida. Not everybody does that. Like, I think that shows huge effort and determination on your part. Why?
I feel I will forever until as long as I am on this earth, I will forever be a student. In
Okay.
that everything that I do, I want to learn from the best how to do it better. I have a certain skills that I have acquired through my career, but being in a room full of really smart people, very successful people, people that are making an impact in their own community, people that are thriving in what they're doing, that was really important to me. I started looking, so negotiation is something that we do in personal injury world every day, every single day, and it's an area where I've read books about it, and there's so much to learn in this area. There is so much psychology that goes into it, and I wanted to participate in a program with really outstanding people and learn from them and see what else there was, what else everyone is doing.
Yeah.
And the program was incredibly well put together. We got to meet some of the brightest legal minds that I have met in my entire life. There was a lot of judges there. There was a lot of attorneys, of all sorts of attorneys, but also there was a lot of high executives from big airlines, big pharmaceuticals, people that represent their companies in some way, and they participate either in negotiation
Oh,
process
wow. That's
or
cool. And they were
mediation.
actually students? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we were
Oh,
all
cool.
students. It was very interesting because a lot of us were either business owners or high executives, and in that moment we all went back to being students,
Yeah.
and the professors were incredibly smart and
Yeah.
incredibly personable, and the entire program was very interactive. They put us to do mediations and negotiations with each other,
That's cool.
and
Yeah.
it was really interesting because it was
Yeah.
not only targeted to personal injury.
Yeah.
Some of it was situations that were even a little ridiculous and crazy,
Yeah.
and being with that level of talent
Yep.
and being able to compete with them was a very unique experience.
So, how long was the program?
It was about a week long.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. It's
Yeah.
one of the 30 or 40 hours type of thing. And
Yes, it was all day
yeah.
for a whole week.
That's fun. That's cool. Like, I'm sure it was challenging too to like do mediations and negotiations against some of these people. Like, if they start to like get into their business mode, like, oh, like it's probably like
It was
I remember that in law school. Like, I took I took mediation. I did mediation before in undergrad, and I remember like the people like sort of like starting to like act like it was. I'm like, oh, okay, like we're not messing around here, because I was always trying to like mess around and like whatever. But anyway,
it was
that's
very
really good for
humbling.
you. Like, so you're like did you buy a Harvard sweatshirt, like a Harvard Law
I
sweatshirt?
most certainly did.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I would have done the same thing.
Exactly.
So, like, how do you feel that though? We're gonna get to talking about your firm in a minute, but how do you feel those skills that you learned at Harvard, as we say it here, like really inspired and helped your practice today, and you as a lawyer in general?
What we do in personal injury, it can every case is different. Every case is a different situation, a different world, but you end up doing a lot of you develop your own technique when it comes to something, and then you end up implementing and sometimes getting stuck in your own habits and technique. And I think that this is something that happens to anyone that practices in law or even a doctor. You learn how to do something, and then you get used to doing it in a way that it works. When I stepped out of my comfort zone, and I went to Harvard, and I spent all of that time with people that some of them are judges, some of them are mediators, some of them are executives, and we are going against each other and seeing all of the personalities. And not everyone was as well versed in the process. It really opens up your mind, and sometimes even in everything we do, we get stuck in the way that we have been doing it. So
Yeah.
it's good to shake up the foundation
Yeah.
and to be around other people, and sometimes be able to see what somebody else is thinking about what you're doing. And personal injury lawyers, because we are so used to confrontation,
Right.
we're very comfortable with it. And it was something that we discussed at length in the program, was that you could really see of the lawyers, and especially the ones that we do personal injury, we had no problem being very confrontational, and
Really.
just very part of it was for fun, but also we are used to it.
And then you like
So
shook hands after or whatever.
yeah, and then we like laugh and we walk away,
Do these
and
things last all day, like the mock negotiations and stuff?
correct.
Was it mediations too?
It was mock negotiations, mock mediations, and it was interesting to see how people that came from different industry treated that process completely different.
Okay.
And it made me think about, okay, sometimes, when the two lawyers are going at it in a certain way, or when the two lawyers are discussing the case in a certain way, maybe this is the way that the mediator is perceiving it, or maybe this is the way that the client is perceiving, or maybe there is a different way to come
Yeah,
at this issue
it's
that
probably a really hard program to get into, and I imagine that they hand select people. Like, they're like, okay, we have a personal injury lawyer. Let's get like a CEO. Let's get this person, because I think like having those different types of people contribute to the classroom really kind of makes like everybody learn in a different way, like different approaches, right? Would you think?
Yes, they definitely put together a very particular group of
Okay.
people, and they do several of these programs, and there's an application process where you have to explain what you do and why you're applying and why you're right for this program, and they definitely pick a group of people that can learn from each other and that can really grow together, and because everyone is at different levels of what they do, making sure that everyone is going to get something out of it. And even for me, that I do mediations and negotiations every day, when I got out of it, I felt like my mind had opened up to different techniques of doing negotiations, of doing mediations, that maybe things that I maybe learned in a negotiation course years ago, but I haven't necessarily looked at. And it was a good way of sharpening all of those tools that some of
Yeah,
them already had.
love it.
Hi, I'm John Morgan. I didn't wake up one day with the largest injury firm in America. I started with one office and a choice: grow or die. I took calculated risk, built my team, and made lots of mistakes along the way, but also built systems and procedures to avoid those mistakes in the future. I'm doing one seminar, one time, to show you how I did it.
Join me at the Win in Vegas on June 9th. Use code STORIES20.
Okay, Dayle, we're gonna turn the page a little bit here. So tell me where you were. Where were you working? What were you doing right before you started your law firm?
I was working for another personal injury law firm. It's called Law Firm.
How long have you been there? How long were you there?
I was there for almost a year. But as soon as I got into personal injury, I immediately started thinking, this is actually the field where I want to open my own firm.
So with that said, tell me, when did you know it was time for you to launch your own firm? DLopez Law.
It was actually very, very soon after I started working with the personal injury law firm.
Okay.
The level of connection that I wanted to have with my clients, and the level of interaction, and the amount of time that I wanted to spend with my clients, and the things that I wanted to do, I realized very quickly that it was something that I wanted to do in my own firm. And I had that entrepreneurial part of me that was there my entire life, and I wasn't.
Right.
The way that I do things is I usually have a purpose, and then everything else, all of my decisions usually start falling behind that purpose. So from the beginning of my career, I always knew I wanted to help people, and I wanted to have my own law firm at some point. And I was just looking for the perfect opportunity. And soon after I started practicing personal injury, I realized that I wanted to be on my own, and of the way that I wanted to do things, I was going to go ahead and push my agenda and represent my clients in a certain way, and that I wanted to do things in a very particular manner where my clients, a lot of them have my cell phone. We have one of my first clients when I was on my own, still calls me today. How are you doing? How is the family? We try to create a very personal environment.
Yes.
And humanize the entire experience of representation.
Yeah, no, that's so important. So what excuse me, what was like the biggest challenges of building DLopez Law Firm in Miami when you first started off? And did you leave like your other place where you like after a year where you're like, okay, like I'm doing this on my own, and then like did you face any challenges? Did you have any cases set up? Like tell us about like the first like few weeks, a month or two to your firm.
I'm very connected with the Cuban community, and my community has always been where everything is born. And again, as I said, I have my purpose, and then everything else just lines up behind it. I had people from my community calling me, they had a case, they wanted me to represent them. And when I went on my own, I was lucky enough that I already had a network of people that were coming to me, that trusted me, that wanted me to represent them in the issues that they had. I also had done immigration for a number of years, so I had created a presence in my community where people trust me.
So were you having to bring like the people that come to the firm you were with instead of handling it yourself? Is that what happened? You had like so many people kind of lining up to wanting your legal help that you were bringing it to the firm that you were with, where you were like, hey, I need to do this on my own. This is how I want to kind of...
Exactly.
Did you leave the place on good terms? Not that you need to answer that, but...
No, we actually did. Whatever cases they had already that they were presenting that I had brought in, we had an agreement for those, and I left, and I took from that point on whatever came in.
So you do have a practice you built a boutique firm immersed in Hispanic and immigrant community. Like, why is that so important to you?
Because it is my community. It is my
Yeah.
roots. It's where I come from, and it's the people that have been around me in my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's a community where a lot of people that come from Latin countries come with a very basic distrust of what the legal system is, and the legal system being able to represent them, and for them to be able to get justice in the legal system. Something that we are very fortunate in this country, that we don't experience is in third world countries, you get pulled over by the police because you had an accident, and the police will bribe you. You will be
Yeah.
sometimes in a worse off position. So there is a very deep distrust of the legal system, and not really a good sense of justice. So
Right.
when you are immersed in the community and they trust you and they know that if they come to you, whatever it is that you're going to do for them, you will do it in good faith. You will represent them, and open-heartedly, and you will do your very best to get them justice. That creates a bond that person is going to tell all your older friends about you, and they're going to
Right.
continue calling you sometimes the rest of their life. I've had clients that I have represented the father, and then years later the son has an accident, the
Yeah.
father is
Yeah.
calling me, "You're the only person that I trust to help us
Right.
with this situation that we're going through."
So what does, I love community. Like, I don't know, like I just feel like there's a big Instagram lawyer community, and I see people like in pictures sometimes. I'm like, hey, I actually know that person, and that person. I guess they know each other. And it's like one of those things where you see it on LinkedIn or you see here, like, what does community mean to you? Like we're talking about, your community where you've put your boutique law firm, your personal injury firm, you're helping your community, immigrants, Hispanic, like Cuban, like what does it mean to you?
It's the people around me that give me the strength and the drive to do what I do, which is not easy at time, and to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's where I come from, and it is the people that I serve.
So, like, how proud are you looking back right now? Like, are you proud to be that person that they look towards, like the true hustler and the true hard worker? I mean, you realize how much of a hard worker and how ambitious you are, right? Do you consider yourself like a hustler, ambitious? Like, how do you describe it?
I definitely consider myself a very hard worker. I'm not somebody that has really ever been comfortable with just the status quo, and I think this
Right.
comes from my family. Going back to the beginning of our conversation, my parents really doing all of the sacrifice in the world that a parent can do in
Right.
order to get their children to have a better future. Coming from that background, there is definitely a sense of all of that cannot be in vain. I have a legacy to carry, and I have people that I need to help in order for all of that effort to be meaningful, and for all of us to really move forward into, quite frankly, a better future and a more secure future.
Love it. So, tell us, just so we're clear, like DLopez Law Firm, Miami, personal injury, who is coming to you? Not necessarily like the demographic, but like who's coming to you? What kind of injuries? What kind of cases are you taking?
We represent a wide variety of personal injury cases. Obviously, we represent a lot of people that have been involved in car accidents. We are in South Florida. We're also exposed to a lot of boat accidents
Wow.
and
Okay.
issues with maritime accidents. We absolutely represent people that have been involved in other types of torts, like slip and falls,
Yep.
and sometimes we do cases that are a little bit different. Like, we've done a beach umbrella case where an umbrella was not properly placed in the sand, and it was picked up by the wind,
Can I guess the beach later? Don't tell me. I'm going to guess it after the show, okay?
yeah.
So go ahead.
We'll talk about it afterwards. But we do a really wide variety of cases. Sometimes a case that the client doesn't really even understand that it's something that we can fight for them, like the beach umbrella case,
Yeah. No, that's an interesting. That's like a casebook case. It's interesting, you know.
But it's a South Florida case, and that's where we are.
Is there like a write up about that? I'd love to read it. If there's case about a beach umbrella case, please.
We should definitely come up with that. Definitely come up with that. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's something that happens down here a lot. And a lot of the hotels, they install these umbrellas, and you know, and they can become a very serious hazard.
Yeah. No, I totally. What do you think like the biggest challenges you face are that like clients or people don't recognize?
When you own a law firm, you wear a lot of hats.
Sure. Yeah.
It's so many different hats that you're wearing on a daily basis, and sometimes you're switching from one thing to the other. It's being a business owner takes everything to a different dimension, because your job is not only to do the cases, but you are part of the community. You have a responsibility to be out and to help support organizations that are doing good work, right. And to be involved in projects that are pushing people and students and children to education and to get out of the streets. And even within the law firm, something that I really wanted to do from the beginning was I wanted to understand what every single area of my business does. And this is something that is very different that I do from many other business owners. I know my law firm, I have done every single job that we do. I know how to do the accounting, I know how to do the marketing, I know how to do the books, I know how to open a claim. I have people now that do that, but I understand every single part of the process. Yeah. And I am involved, at least looking over when my staff is working on something, I am involved in every single part of the process. So I like the work to have my stamp when it gets out of the door.
So speaking of that, how do you make, like a lot of clients you hear like feel invisible at law firms, like how do you make your clients feel heard and supported?
We face a special challenge with that specific aspect of the representation, because we represent a lot of people that do not speak English, a lot of blue collar workers. Some of them, our offices are in downtown. We have this beautiful downtown office in the DuPont building, and
that's awesome.
And it's, we have an amazing location. We're very lucky. And when I have clients that come to my office and they have been living in Miami for 10 years, and they tell me, I have never been inside one of these buildings in downtown. So we represent people that most of their life they have worked hard, but they don't understand what it is to be heard. They don't understand what it is to be represented. A lot of them have faced challenges that we cannot even imagine, coming from a different country, risking their life. So for us to make them feel visible, understood, represented, heard, is at the very core of what we do. And in order to do that, we stay in contact with our clients. We give them updates. Yeah. We try to create a very personal experience to make sure that they know that we are on their side. We are on their team, and we're going to do whatever we need to do to get them justice.
So how would you say your approach is different than like a bigger firm?
Because we do a boutique service, we don't do high volume cases. So if you're going to a law firm and that has 300,000 cases coming in every month, and they have a certain amount of staff to do that, if you're lucky, you're going to maybe talk to a case manager maybe once every few months. Most people that have that experience will tell you they never met the attorney, maybe when they went to the mediation or the deposition, but other than that, they never even met who their attorney was. When I opened my business, one of the things that that was very deep in my purpose is I wanted to meet every single one of my clients. Every
That's
client
awesome.
that
I love
comes
that.
into my office has at some point a face-to-face with me, and they know who I am, and I want to know them. I want to know their story. And a lot of times that is really what makes a difference. What we do in personal injury, it's personal. It's human. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you are in those big firms, they lose track of that. It's run as a corporation, as a business. They are delivering a service, and it's not a personal experience because
it's true because they take on so many cases and they're sort of mills and they just kind of like do the settlements and that sort of thing.
Exactly. We make sure that our experience is completely different. We provide a boutique service. We spend time on the case. We do whatever we need to do to make the client feel heard, and that has worked very well for us.
I love it. And your firm talks about leaving no stone unturned. Like, what do you mean by that? In terms of building a case, Dayle.
It means that we are going to get to know our client, and we are not only going to advocate for the injury itself, but we are going to advocate for them as a person. At the end of the day, Benny, when we take a case to court or a case to trial, what you are really explaining to a jury is, this is my client, a human being, a person that was living their life a certain way, a person that has a family, that has a story, that has parents, that has children. A lot of time it's somebody that is the household, the head of the household. So our job is to understand who this person is, not only as a medical record, as an injury that we're sending in a program to an insurance company and waiting for them to spit out a number. We look at every single case as a case that, if it is necessary, we're going to take it all the way to trial. And in order to do that, we need to look under every single stone. We need to make sure that we understand who this person is as a person, and we need to make sure that that is put forth.
Yeah.
And that is well presented.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. What you're saying is so important. I mean, any client kind of wants that type of representation. So how important is it to just go beyond the compensation that you get and to make sure that your clients are actually healing?
Extremely important. That is a big part of what we do. It's not only about the financial aspect of it. This person underwent a traumatic injury most of the time, and they need to heal. They need to continue living their life, and they need to do this in a way that they're going to be able to carry on with their life in the best possible way. Unfortunately, it's not always possible. Sometimes we represent clients that have undergone very traumatic, life-altering injuries, and in that case, we make sure that they have enough compensation that they're going to be able to live the rest of their life at least monetarily comfortable. And then obviously there is those situations where we represent a client that has passed away. We represent a wrongful death case, and those are
wow.
In my practice, they are particularly difficult because we work closely either with the parents or with the spouse, and we make sure that we get them some sort of compensation for the terrible tragedy that they have gone through.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just crazy. So so unfortunate. It's got to be so hard to have these people come in at like their most desperate time, and they really just want you. They want to talk to the lawyer. They want FaceTime. They don't want to talk to anybody else. They want the help. So
it's one of the hardest parts of my job, and those cases are, I feel like every single one of those cases that I have ever done always takes a little piece of me with it. When something like when I'm working on something like that, I meet with the family, I go to their house, I spend time with them, I make sure that I understand who this person was while they were alive, and the terrible hole that they have left in this family. And so I spend a lot of time with them. I spend a lot of time getting to know them, getting to know as much as I possibly can about the person that passed away.
Yeah, that's nice. I think that's a
And
nice touch.
being a part of that process is very special,
Yeah,
and it's something that personal injury attorneys that we do that puts us in a very particular place of being a source of comfort for a family that is going
right.
through a terrible tragedy. But at the same time, at least for me, something about every single one of those cases always stays with me
Yeah.
because I become a part
It's
of
personal for you. You take
it
it
is
on
personal.
yourself. It's personal for you. Yeah.
And I think that's the way that it has to be,
Yeah.
because Benny, at the end of the day, what we do, it's about the human experience and the human interaction, and we arrive in people's life when they have gone through a terrible thing that
Yeah.
has happened to
Yeah.
either them or their family, and it has to be personal.
Well, I think you're doing a great job and you're really comforting, and you can tell how much you care as a lawyer for your clients. What would you tell a 15-year-old immigrant arriving in the U.S. today?
That is a very good question. I I would say the opportunities that you are looking for in order to reach every single one of your dreams are out there. They exist.
They
You
exist.
have to get up every day
I
and
love
go
that. I
out
love that.
and meet people. And people are more excited and willing to
Would you say, I
help.
mean, I asked you about like for an immigrant arriving, but I think that's for everybody.
I think that's for everyone.
I think that's for everybody.
But coming as an immigrant, you don't come into the country with a network. So you're starting to build your network from scratch. If you were born here, you have people that you went to high school with, or you have people that you went to middle school with. You come in with a network. When you come in as an immigrant, it's a very particular experience because you pretty much land in a place where you are new and you don't know the people, or you don't know the society, you don't know the culture, and you know that you have dreams, but it almost looks like there is a big mountain standing in front of you, and it's
Hmm.
almost like everybody else is halfway through the mountain already,
Yeah.
but you are at the very bottom, and it can be very intimidating. I say that the way to really move forward is one little step every single day, and be out in society, get to know people, be humble, and be open about who you are, and just be your authentic self. That is something that has
Love it.
always been very important to me. I understood very early in my life that I come from a very different background than most people,
Hmm.
and that is my authentic self.
Hmm.
And being true to my authentic self has really been the moving force that has opened the door to every single opportunity that I have ever been able to embrace. And getting into a room, and I remember we talked about the Harvard course. When I was at Harvard, we did an introduction, and everyone got up and said who they were. And when I got up, I said, my name is Dayle Lopez. I am a personal injury attorney in Miami. I am born and raised in Cuba, and now I own a law firm in downtown Miami. And you would not believe the amount of people, at least 5 people from that group, which was a large group of people, came to me afterwards and they said, "Oh, you're the Cuban girl." A lot of them had been to Cuba. I
Wow.
was surprised. I was surprised. I met at least 5 people in that program in Harvard from all over the United States, and there were actually people from Canada as well that have been to Cuba. Some of them were involved with charitable organizations and they went to Cuba to do some charitable work. Some of them took advantage when the travel restrictions were a little bit easier, and they went because they were curious about the culture,
Yep.
and it really opened the door to get to know them. Going back to your question, when you're 15 and you're an immigrant, and you're new in a country, everything is very intimidating. It's very difficult to really see the road. But if the purpose is there, and you just take one little step every single day and stay out meeting people, shaking hands, and just doing one little thing every single day to go up that mountain little by little. Before you know it, you're going to be way farther up the mountain, and you're
Yeah.
gonna realize that you have already gone way farther than you could have possibly imagined that you would.
Yeah, totally. Love it. Great advice, great statement. Dayle, did we leave anything out that I missed? Like any questions or?
No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for letting me share my story. It was very special, and
Oh, it was very special, and maybe we got to do it again. But tell me, so do you want to leave us with some parting advice?
we all come from a different place in the world, whether it's in America, Cuba, Europe, whatever it is that we come from, but we all have something to offer to the world. And
Yeah.
if you really understand what your talent is, and you're not afraid to share it and to offer into the world what it is that you're good at, you will be successful. There's no way when you mix the hard work with that purpose, things are going to go well. And that's really all I have to say. That is my main motto.
It's amazing. Well, congrats on your success. I mean, it's so interesting, like how far you've come from being 15 to like becoming an attorney and representing people in your community. I mean, what's better than that, really? Like, what's better than that? Like waking up and knowing that, you have person after person coming to you from a community that's so important and special to you, and you get to represent them for, unfortunate things that happen in their life, but they come to you. Like, how much does that mean to you? I mean,
It means everything to me. It's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
What we do is it can be extremely emotionally and physically taxing. We work really hard, and in our firm sometimes we have 18-hour days, and we have weeks where we are there and like we're fighting, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have such a strong purpose behind every single thing that I do.
who you fighting with?
Whoever is on the other side of my client's interest.
Oh, your other side. No, I think it's awesome. Congrats on all your success. It's super cool. And Lawyer Stories, thank you for your support.
Thank you, Manny. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And please stay right there, Dayle. Dayle Lopez, owner of DLopez Firm, Personal Injury Miami. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves.